Good morning, everybody. Today I am going to discuss here history of 20th century English literature and its impact over drama, poetry, novel, and all the experiments done in all sorts of arts called isms. Dear friends, history is a continuous flow. So when we talk about 20th century, we should definitely connect it with the end of Victorian age. Victorian age, as all of you know, was very prosperous, progressive, as well as optimistic age. But it was not so during the last stage of Victorian era. The last stage of the Victorian optimism and confidence waned near about 1880, and doubt and disillusion crept in. What is usually called Victorianism came to an end long before the death of Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria died in 1901. She was succeeded by her son Edward II. The first, after Edward II, 1910 to 1936 is called the Georgian period. Friends, these are historical facts. Let us move to all the important factors which played very important role in the change of 20th century. The first disturbing factor was imperialism, the reawakening of a dominating spirit. Let us see that how it started. Britain began its blunder by the Boer War in South Africa. Other nations also followed. Germany tried for a future push to east. France enlarged her huge empire in Africa and Indochina. Italy attacked on Abyssinia. Japan inflated their victory over Russia. Pacific Islands also became active stations. United States attacked on Philippines. These are the geographical facts which are presented here, but basically what we are supposed to mark is that imperialism, spreading the dominating power over the world, was a great factor which played very important role during this century. And friends, the imperialistic nations were all alike blind. The inevitable result was the First World War and the greater horror of the Second World War too. The two calamities being different acts of the same tragedy of imperialism, separated only by a breathing spell. The catastrophe of the war had shaken faith in the continuity of Western civilization and raised doubts and adequacy of traditional literary modes to represent the harsh and dissonant realities. Here, it is very simply put that faith was broken. But what sort of experience passed through human sensibility, that becomes very important. And that is how broken faith brings alienation. Person is uprooted from the social order, from the philosophical order, from the moral order which has been inherited within human self by birth. This harsh realities of World War certainly was a crisis of faith among intellectuals, artists, as well as spreading the same in society. Another very important factor which plays very important role in the change, that is science. Scientists like Darwin, Einstein and Freud completely changed the intellectuality of society. Darwin's theory of evolution broke faith from the Christianity. Christianity taught to society that human being is the product of God. God has given you birth and your future is destined on this earth and you have to work accordingly. But Darwin proved it that you are a simple scientific process and part of that process. You have nothing to do with God or its gift. And this is how faith was completely broken. This is uprootedness from your religion background. Einstein came with his principle of relativity and Freud entered in the mind of human being and proved 3 different layers: conscious mind, subconscious mind, unconscious mind. There was whole study of psychoanalysis. These all factors, along with them came rapid investigations of science like radio, sound recording, television, camera, cinema, transport, aeronautics, industrialization, the machine age, fast production. All this together brought a major agricultural depression. The population shifting towards towns raised the problem of unemployment, stark inequality between the rich and the poor, economic imbalance was found. This brought drastic change in the contemporary politics. There were 2 well-established parties, Whigs and Tories, since tradition, but one more party was introduced. It came into existence and it was called the Independent Labour Party. This was the beginning of democracy too. Democracy again proved that human being is a part of crowd, so individuality again negated. Again and again, human mind in the society was challenged. Several questions regarding his identity were not answered, and this is how one strong cultural turn has been found in society, and that was reflected in all the artistic genres. It is reflected in painting, architecture, then came to literature. It was experimental. It is not so that there was a well established, well planned turn. The sensibility which was developed within the heart of artists, whatever they experienced, the shattering faith, the broken order, the anarchy, chaos, these feelings could not be expressed through the conventional pattern of arts. Conventional pattern of arts were based on the theory of mimesis, where very well established order is found within human self, philosophically, morally, psychologically, found outside in the world, which is expressed with all the aesthetic principles which were developed traditionally, conventionally. Friends, these experiments are here called modernism. Modernism sounds to be a very fashionable term, but actually it comes with all changes in traditions, and in literature it is a response to the large scale changes that happened in socio-political fields of Europe. Modernism is not, as I said, unified monolithic movement. It is a word used to indicate several tendencies in the field of arts. They are even contradictory. The theory of mimesis is completely rejected. As soon as Freud became influential, the effect of unconscious came into literature, and that is called the stream of consciousness technique. The stream of consciousness technique, as I said, enters in the mind of human being. The phrase stream of consciousness implies the flow of thoughts through the mind of a person. Thus, what we have in this type of work mainly is the thoughts, the ideas, the feelings which pass through not conscious mind, even sometimes unconsciously, because human mind continuously thinks. If you can stop your mind thinking, that is a great achievement, or that is imbalance mind. So you must have experienced that even your mind continuously thinks, and there is no linearity of sentences, no logic about subject. It is not at all necessary that you think about particular idea for more than 5 minutes even. Our mind jumps from one idea to another idea, present to past, past to future, future to present, personal to social, even about the surrounding areas. Trifle things also come in the thinking process of very important thing, or when you are thinking about very trifle things, even very great thoughts occur. That's the depth of human mind, which is studied, which is measured out or presented through the stream of consciousness technique. So you will definitely understand here that the way Wuthering Heights is written, or the way conventional novels are written with a beautiful dream-like love stories, where actions happen very conveniently following the conventions of Aristotle, unity of plot, unity of action, unity of time. Nothing is broken in it, and if it is broken, it is called that beauty is spoiled here. These things are not possible in the stream of consciousness type of technique. Virginia Woolf writes in her diary before writing To the Lighthouse, I want to write something else than novel. And then she started writing To the Lighthouse. I would like to here show you the text of some extract of To the Lighthouse, and after going through this text, we will try to understand again that what is the change brought here through this technique. To the Lighthouse begins with the title The Window. This is the window opened in the human to enter in the human mind. We are able to peep in the human mind. And novel begins like this. Yes, of course. If it's fine tomorrow, said Mrs. Ramsay, but you'll have to be with the lark, she said. She added. Now, friends, this is the beginning of the book where we directly enter in the conversation going on about the issue of going somewhere. The weather is favorable. Tomorrow we will go. The second paragraph after this single dialogue, she has written to her son. These words conveyed an extraordinary joy, as if it were settled the expedition were bound to take place, and the wonder to which he had looked forward for years and years, it seemed, was after a night's darkness and day's sail within touch. I would like to draw your attention here that after a single dialogue, what is going in the mind of son is conveyed. Likewise, one by one, we enter in every individual's mind. All the characters' mental thoughts are important and not like conventional novel, story element or plot or art of characterization become the center point. Friends, think about the conventional novel where you are actually exposed to the central thread which is revealed in the very beginning of the work of art. At the same time, you are also given proper introduction of all the characters, At the same time, all the techniques are properly taken care of. Here, deliberately, you will see syntax is not taken care of, conventions are set aside, and what we are directly focused to are the minds of all the characters. We are able to enter in the mind of Mr. Ramsay, all the children, even Mrs. Ramsay, and if you think about the story element, you will be surprised to see that in the whole novel, the action according to convention is only talking about going to the lighthouse, and at the end of novel they are able to reach the lighthouse, which is symbolically important and not materialistically. When readers are used to conventional type of novels, at the very first reading they feel that, what is it? Curious about to the lighthouse. What is the lighthouse? Must be very interesting place. Children are very eager to go there. The journey must be adventurous. There must be something very risky, so father is not very ready to go there, willing to go there. But actually nothing like that happen, and the reality is that with the help of this very thin plot line action, we are introduced to the male psychology of father, caring, emotionally involved psychology of mother, and even child psychology, where children are very eager to go there. When mother is not there, they become very mature and able to convince father that it is your responsibility to take us there, and finally they are able to reach there. This is a novel which is called the stream of consciousness type of fiction. There is one more ism which is based on Freud's psychology, and that is called Surrealism. The concept of Surrealism is associated with the dream-like qualities. Now you may feel here that here just now the stream of consciousness technique is discussed, and now another technique which is related to again subconscious mind, or I would say unconscious mind, because dreams are seen during your sleeping condition. So here surrealist writers go one step further. They focus upon our unconscious mind also. During our dreaming condition, not the romantic way of dream, real dreams and sometimes nightmares, where you definitely see broken, scattered images put together becomes one dream. Let us see how the surrealism is defined and how it comes to literature. Surrealism was a revolt against all restraints on free creativity. When dream should come to poetry, it should not come with the control. It should not come with the bondages of conventions. Let your unconscious mind flow freely. When unconscious mind flows freely, you may get mess in your poetry. So how it should be allowed? Can we call it a poetry? These questions are there naturally in the minds of students. Here again, I would like you to remember the historical background, where if two anarchies like World War I and World War II have been faced by the society, dreams will not be romantic dreams. They will be full of so many questions, so many contradictions, so many horrifying images. To put all this together in literature requires surrealism only. I am sure you'll agree to it. And that is how surrealism came in the practice. They believed in uncontrolled operation of deep mind. In day-to-day life, we are so much controlled, we are so much socialized, we are so much conventional. We scarcely allow our unconscious mind to flow freely. So here is a trend, here is the experiment which actually allowed the deep mind, and it was considered the only source of valid knowledge without any artificiality. It was automatic writing delivered entirely over to the prompting of the unconscious mind, exploiting the material of dreams, of states of mind between sleep and your awakened stage of mind, and of natural or hallucinations. Many such experiments were done in the poetry form. These experiments, I won't claim that always successful, but they were successful in a manner that they were able to express their inner anarchy, chaos, and the readers today are able to even experience through the medium of surrealist poetry the same experience. So that way the experiments definitely were to some extent successful. The next concept which really worked out in poetry form was imagism. Imagism flourished in England between the years 1912 to 1917. It was a revolt against rather blurry, messy, sentimentalist poetry of the turn of the century. The typical imagist poem is written in free verse, without comment or generalization. The writer's response to a visual object or sense, often the impression is rendered by means of metaphor or by juxtaposing a description of one object with that of a second and diverse object. Ezra Pound's poem illustrates the concept very well. The poem is titled as In a Station of Metro. The apparition of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bow. Two images put together here, that how are the stations of Metro City, the apparition of these faces. Now this image and another image, petals on a wet black bow. Without describing a lot, without using many words, within hardly 3 lines, the complete scene perfectly has been portrayed. So we should understand here the use of image, that through image poetry became more sharp, more strong. Another moment which is seen more in poetry and even fiction is symbolist movement. The way images are used, here symbols are used. It is not so that they are used for the first time in 20th century. The use of symbols were there, but here it became a different movement, and let us first see the movement and see the use of it. Symbolist movement is based upon the ancient belief in correspondences, the doctrine that there exist inherent and systematic analogies between the human mind and the outer world, that is materialistic world which is surrounding us, and also between the natural and the spiritual world. As Baudelaire put this doctrine, everything, form, movement, number, color, perfume, in the spiritual as in the natural world is significative, reciprocal, converse and correspondent. The modern period in the decades after World War I was a notable era of symbolism in literature. Now symbols and images put together, are they one and the same or they are different? Like that way also sometimes students are confused. Images are related to the inner experiences, whereas symbols come from materialistic world and they represent our feeling or experience. It is correspondent. Outside one object which is associated with some inner feeling, and there is analogical world. This is how they are different. I am here going to show you conventional poetry and modern poetry. Dear friends, you are fond of romantic poetry. I have brought here very conventional love song for you. That is, Oh my love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June. Oh my love is like the melody that's sweetly played in tune. Another stanza which I want to show you of the same poem is, As fair art thou, my bonny lass, so deep in love am I, and I would love thee still, my dear, till all the seas gang dry. That is eternal platonic love. It begins with a love lyric, a lover I, expresses his feeling for the beloved, and the second stanza which I have selected takes us to the platonic love, that is eternal love, permanent love. This poetry doesn't need explanation. I'm sure you understand it very well, and it is one of your favorite poems. I would like to show you at the same time one more love song, that is a love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, modern love song. Let us see how is it. It reads like this: let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table. Friends, you will be shocked to see love poetry beginning like this. First of all, here, who are these you and I? They are one and the same. You and I is Prufrock, I would say. It is a splitted personality of the lover. When the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table, as if patient has been given anesthesia and the patient is unconscious upon a table, that sort of evening is there, where let us go, you and I, to some girl and propose. Now this sounds very strange, and that is what is modern poetry. It goes further like this: let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights, in one-night cheap hotels and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells, streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent to lead you to an overwhelming question that is endless. Oh, do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. The second stanza: and I have known the arms already, known them all, arms that are braceleted and white and bare. Whose arms are they? They are the arms of woman. Now here, the I personality, which was splitted, fragmented, I and you. The beloved's personality, that is also fragmented. Only arms are there. They are white and bare. It goes further, but in the lamp light down with light brown hair. Is it perfume from a dress that makes me so digress? Arms that lie along a table or wrap about a shawl, and should I then presume, and how should I begin? That's a question, because he is incapable of identifying himself. He is incapable of feeling the feeling of love, incapable to go and propose. This is how modern poetry presents modern lover Prufrock. I'm sure there is very clear difference between oh my love is like a red red rose and let us go then you and I. Friends, let us move to the another very important device which was used. Actually it is a concept in drama form, the theatre of the absurd. Absurdity is a concept which was experienced again by this modern period culture, where Actually, the term was coined in 1961 by the critic Martin Esslin to define a form of theatre which rejects naturalism as the basis for its presentation of character and action, uses a variety of dramatic techniques, rejecting rational analysis and explanation to express. It implies the absurdity of human condition. That's the most important phrase in the whole description of the theatre of the absurd, that it implies the absurdity of the human condition. You must have heard the two more associated concepts like existentialism and expressionism. The root cause, the concept is actually developed by the existentialist writer Albert Camus. He has written essays, The Myth of Sisyphus, and more essays on the concept of absurdity, and I would like to here explain the concept through the drama Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. The concept actually should be clear first of us, but to clarify the concept, let me first confess that to put absurdity in words itself is impossible. If I am able to express this concept through language, then it's not absurd. Absurdity means meaningless, fruitless, irrational sort of experience. It's feeling. It is not clear-cut definition which can be learnt or understood thoroughly. Still, the experience can be passed through the ways of art. Different arts have passed on this experience, and we are able to experience, we are able to feel that what is absurdity. Simply putting into words that during the anarchy of this first stage of 20th century, human beings started questioning to the social order, to the moral order, religious order of the existence of human being and the surrounding world. I should say human beings started asking to self that what is the meaning of my birth, my education, my grown-up stage, my achievements in society, my status in society. All these sounded very fruitless, very futile, and then the question was, why do I live? There are the phrases used in Albert Camus' essay Suicidal, and on suicide he has written a lot. Even in the Myth of Sisyphus also, Albert Camus talks about the meaning of action which is performed through the whole life of human being. The same experience is put here in the play, very successful drama which has no plot, which has no art of characterization, which has no story element, which has no conventionality, no action going further. Here are two characters, Valdemar Estragon, waiting for Godot. Godot is unknown element, presumably God. We are reminded of Nietzsche's statement that God is dead. So we do have, even in Hinduism, Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. So here writer feels that Entire human race keeps on waiting for the birth of God. Someday God will come and purify the society, re-establish the order, and give meaning to our existence. But it is meaningless. It is fruitless. It is simply illusion. That was the experience of the people during 20th century. So here let us see the text of Waiting for Godot. A country road, a tree, Astragon sitting on a low mound is trying to take off his boot. He pulls at it with both hands, panting. He gives up, exhausted, rests, tries again, as before. Astragon giving up again, nothing to be done. First dialogue of the drama, where he says nothing to be done. Valdemar advancing with short stiff strides, legs wide apart. I am beginning to come round to that opinion. Continues, all my life I have tried to put it from me, saying, Valdemar, be reasonable, you haven't yet tried everything. And I resumed the struggle. He broods, musing on the struggle, turning to Astragon. So there you are again. This is what we have in the play and beginning of the play. How it sounds very unusual. Let us pay attention to it, that at the very beginning of the play, two characters are talking about what? About removing the shoes. They are doing very insignificant job, not capable to do even that. Again and again they pull the shoe, tired of doing it, and they give up. Again they try, pull the shoe, tired of doing it, and they give up. And then they say, nothing is to be done. This is the experience which has been continuously developed in the whole play, and after some dialogues there will be messenger who will come and give us message. Today Godot will not come, he'll come tomorrow. He'll come after some time. And up to the end, even at the end, they are asked to go away. Let us go, let us go, let us go, but they don't go. They are there where they were from the very beginning of the play. There are no dialogues, meaningful dialogues. There is no development of plot, no story element, but very successfully the whole play passes to us the experience of feeling that why do we exist? What is the meaning of our life? Why do we do all the questions throughout life? What are we waiting for? What is our final goal? These all questions are very much there behind the presentation of this very, very successful drama, without story, without conventional plot, without the art of characterization, without very impressive characters even. That is what was called the theatre of the absurd. This is how drama form was also completely changed. There were many more trends which were called existentialist play or expressionistic play. For example, the Harry Ape, Look Back in Anger. There are many such, not only British but even American plays. And then these trends have become global trends, and this is how the concept was developed. Friends, when we are talking about 20th century, we cannot neglect postmodernism. Postmodernism is a concept which is developed after well established all the modern isms. Rather, it was a reaction against modernism that after understanding, after accepting, digesting all the modern concepts, now writers wanted to turn back to conventionality. Let us see the concept. The concept is applied to the literature and art after World War II, when the experiences of Nazi totalitarianism and the threat of total destruction by the atomic bomb, the progressive devastation of natural environment, and the ominous fact of overpopulation were in society. Postmodernism involves not only a continuation, sometimes carried to an extreme, of the counter-traditional experiments of modernism, but also diverse attempts to break away from modernist forms. Not going into the detail of postmodernism, let us try to understand modernism itself again, because I was given isms basically. I have tried to compare romantic literature with modernism, where what do we find in romantic literature basically is hope and faith. In modernism, alienation from God, alienation from nature, alienation from society, alienation from self, which we have seen in the poem J. Alfred Prufrock. Complete breakdown of value system. In romantic literature, we find experience of village, experience of belonging to a community. In modernism, we find isolation of the individual. City is the background. Again, we have seen in the poetry of Prufrock, where very city atmosphere that is also very polluted, and dirty restaurants which are foggy restaurants, and like that way that background has been shown. In romanticism, expression is purely conventional. In modernism, experimentation in language is not only language, in form is the essence. Romantic writers firmly believed in then social identity. In modernism, they rejected modes of expression based on tradition, and identity is the main question, main problem, and this is how modernism questions human identity, human value, and social value, religious value, politics, philosophy, morals, all are questioned. All the sciences were questioned, and that's what is modernism. Dear friends, this was my humble attempt to simplify the concept of modernism, the background of 20th century. Apart from questions, I would like to even have your observations, and we can now discuss further the topic, and I would be very glad to listen from your part now. not only the questions, I would like to listen even your observations, your comments, and you can also enlighten me. I will be very glad if students are involved in the discussion. Here, continuation is that variety of examples are possible for us to discuss. For example, what type of surrealist poetry can be there? I have read one surrealist poetry where the variety of questions are asked. How could Hamlet be written? How Lord Buddha can find out 8 ways of self-realization? And the answers in the poetry were really interesting. Surrealist actually broke the things into fragments and said that there was a gland which was responsible for the production of Hamlet, or there was thyroid which was responsible for the finding out of 8 paths of Lord Buddha. Now when we are from the conventional background, we are unable to accept such fragmented presentations. Still they are there and they sound to be poetic. This is how modernism has been experimenting continuously the concept of different isms. And I would like to thank you very much.